I walked into court wearing jeans. I walked into court wearing a t-shirt with a button-down shirt. I walked into court wearing a ski jacket. And I thought the court officers were going to throw me out. I thought the attorneys, as they noticed me walking down the hall, were going to throw me out of court. You want to learn what this is all about and why I was dressed like that going into court? Come join me for a moment as I share with you some great information. Hi, I'm Gerry Oginski. I'm a New York medical malpractice and personal injury attorney. So now, a few weeks ago, my daughter was home from college and she asked me if she could go see a trial, a real trial. I said, sure. I'll take you to the courthouse. I'll take you to the Nassau County Supreme Courthouse, which is our trial-level court in Mineola, New York. And now we'll go in, we'll walk the halls to see if there are any ongoing trials. She wanted to see a real jury. She wanted to see real attorneys arguing. She wanted to hear attorneys object. And importantly, she wanted to hear judges make rulings and listen to witnesses on the witness stand. That's what she wanted to see. So I said, sure, no problem. But then she asked me, what do I wear to court? Now, that's a very interesting question, because as an observer, as a member of the public, you can wear anything you want to court. All the courthouses in New York are open to the public, which means anyone at any time can go into the courthouse, you go through security, and now you can walk into any courtroom you wish. And that's true for civil cases involving accident matters, medical malpractice, and wrongful death matters, in addition to the criminal courthouse, which involves all sorts of criminal cases. They are open to the public. So she asked what she should wear. I said, wear your street clothes. You don't have to wear something very pretty and very nice. However, you should wear something clean and respectable. Now contrast that with what happens if you are a litigant, if you're bringing a lawsuit and now your case is on trial, or you're being sued. In that instance, your dress is entirely different and you need to be dressed nicely so that the jury can see what you look like. Okay, but in this instance, we were going as a member of the public, as an observer. So now we arrive at the courthouse. I have my attorney ID, my secure pass, which allows me to bypass court security. My daughter goes through security, and I'm telling you, it was the weirdest feeling in the world. Because typically, when I go into court, I'm wearing a suit and tie, right? That's the professional attire that attorneys wear when going into court and appearing in front of a judge. But here I am wearing my jeans, I'm wearing my winter boots, I'm wearing my ski jacket, and now I'm walking into court, and it felt so awkward. In any event, we get upstairs, and now we begin walking the halls. And what do we see? It turns out that there were a number of cases actually on trial. So my daughter and I go to the first one, we open the door, we sit down, and now, within a few moments, the court clerk comes rushing over to us. And my daughter says, why is she coming over to us? I said, watch. And she comes over and asks us a key question. Are you involved, are you witnesses in this particular case? And I said, no, we're not. We're just observing. She said, no problem. Have a nice time. And went back to her duties. Now, why would she ask if we were witnesses in this particular case? It's because if we were a witness, they would not want us sitting in court listening to other testimony, because that may sway our opinions, it may sway our conclusions, it may sway our version of the facts if we were a witness listening to somebody else testify in court. If you are a witness participating in a trial, you will be asked to wait outside until you're ready to be called to testify, and that's why you cannot sit in the back of the courtroom. Now, you should know, in the other courtrooms that had trials going on, the same exact thing happened. As soon as we sat down, either the court officer or the court clerk came over to us and asked us that same question. Hey, are you witnesses in this particular case? No, we're just observing. And it was fascinating because as we're walking down the halls, we see all these attorneys. They're all dressed in their suits. They're all dressed professionally. And now they're looking at us, my daughter and I, wondering who we are. Maybe we're litigants. Maybe we're somebody else. Maybe we're members of the public. They don't know. And I didn't happen to see anybody that I knew specifically, any of the attorneys, but it was just such a weird feeling being in court wearing my street clothes as opposed to wearing my suit. So we walked in, we sat down, and that was fascinating. She got to see how trials work. She got to see what was boring. She got to see what was interesting. She got to see attorneys objecting. And that for her was very interesting. So to go back to the original question, do you have to dress a particular way when you go into court? The answer is, if you are a litigant, absolutely. If you're a member of the public going to observe, no, you can just walk in, sit down, and sit and listen and figure out what's going on. That's the best thing to do. You know, I realize you're watching this video because you have questions or concerns about your own matter. Well, if your matter did happen here in New York and you're thinking about bringing a lawsuit, but haven't done so yet because you still have questions that need to be answered, What I encourage you to do is pick up the phone and call me. I can answer your legal questions. You know, this is something I do every single day, and I'd love to chat with you. You can reach me at 516-487-8207 or by email at Gerry, Gerry, at oginski-law.com. That's it for today's video. I'm Gerry Oginski. Have a wonderful day.